This is JR from West Virginia and Commonplace. We are talking about Nebula's Labor Day sale. Get 20% off of Nebula's Labor Day sale. Use promo code Labor Day 2023. Valid August 30th through September 6th. And we will definitely have more information for you guys in the show notes of this episode, so please check it out.
WV Uncommon Place. This podcast is a variety podcast that houses numerous series to cover mental health, empowerment, podcast framework, and various intimate theories to get to know the hosts. Along with occasional movies reviews and dives in pop culture with our event podcast episodes. The Uncommon Place digs into bringing guests on that stories don't fit the mold and are very different. WV stands for the great state of West Virginia, and every quarter we cover something in West Virginia. Stacey and myself, JR, are your hosts, so please come along for this venture to our Uncommon Place.
Howdy everybody, welcome to West Virginia and Commonplace. This is JR, I'm back with you all. And we're in the month of September. September is a wild month for me because it's the start of, I call it the prime podcast season. We get out here and I've already got material together to bring out for the podcast and try to get it curated a certain way for September. And I'm actually right now working on October's content to make sure that it follows a strong suit just like that. Get November stuff ready. Already have December stuff. And I will be recording in the background with quite a few different people. But getting back into this interview phase and stuff has been a struggle for me. Barring you've already heard our episode about the health issues and stuff like that. So we can go forward and say, hey, JR, you are a diabetic. Didn't need the insulin shot, but definitely need the metformin. So on that part, I want to thank everybody that has checked on me, taking time out of your busy schedule to just even send me a note to check and say, hey, what's going on? We haven't seen you on Instagram Live or anywhere crazy like that. So yeah, man, I just want to say thank you to get there. So been in the podcasting game since 2018, long time. September has always been the greatest growth month for me. So when the podcast grows, it grows in this kind of sense. And this episode is for the listeners and for the podcasters that listen for some advice too. The growth that I see in September sets the tone for the rest of next year. I know that sounds crazy because you would think that, we still got cold months, January and all that stuff, but no. September sets a tone that if we for instance, I remember 2021 wasn't the strongest year for the podcast in September. 2022, amazing. 2021 was like, but when we had a strong performance, we were doing more shows then, but now we kind of streamlined it to 4. We're going to have 1 extra episode in this month. So there will be 6 episodes this month in September. So, don't hold your breath too tight, but just please bear with me on those. And, some of them are not going to be tailored to what people are used to because we're getting back into the interview episodes. And what had happened was I got very comfortable with the interview episodes, doing those. And a lot of people don't realize how much research goes into doing these shows. So I'm going to just give you a quick example for the listener and for the podcaster that's thinking about becoming a podcaster or the podcaster that's already a podcaster. So if I find a guest, we'll go back to like March, for instance. I met a guest that I wanted to have on the show. You send them some information if a PR company doesn't bring them to you. Now, when the PR company brings them to me, that's a whole different story. I get a list of people and I can go through and I can be like, hey, this person fits what we want to do later, or this and that. And then I work those things out and bring that person on. But when I have to do the cat and mouse, like I find a guest that I really am into and I want to have on the show, and I think that they would be a great influence on the audience or a great takeaway for the audience. You send them a message, you wait for them to message you back. And during that exchange, if I started in March, for instance, with someone, it may take until the beginning of April to get a response back from them. And when I get a response back from them, I'm scheduling them in May or June to come on my show. That way I got enough time to do the research on their book, or if they're whatever's intriguing about that person, I'm going to take the time and go do all that. So I do all that. Then with that long distance of time that I put in there, mind you, I started back in March with them and we're recording in May or June. I'm not going to release that material that we recorded in June or July until freaking September when I want to, build that content up. So over that time, I'm able to get the Canva worked out. Everything that I do in marketing and advertising, I can work that stuff out ahead of time. So it's just out the box, bam, it's there. Woo, done. So with that taking place, you do the interview. After you do the interview, you exchange information with them real fast. And a lot of times, depending on who the person is, sometimes it just dies right there. They'll support your content if you remind them, or if you put it out. If I would put out content earlier, like some people would like, then that will work out. But anybody I bring on the show, I make sure I take the time to tell them that, hey, I'm a curator. I want this stuff to set a certain pattern so that I can have 4 episodes for a month that align with each other. They either bridge together or they move people in 2 different directions from the original source, but something that makes sense. Because when I first started podcasting, I was doing episodes about this and that. I'd have mental health topics and go on to this, go on to that. And I would warn my audience about some of this, and sometimes I wouldn't. And then in warning my audience, the other thing is like, just like with this episode I'm doing right here, I would end up throwing out an extra episode of podcasting to help my audience. But once you become part of the audience, you know that the show's a variety show, so that we have different series for different things. Like, for instance, when I covered the love series and I was talking about the worst dating last December of my life, I covered that stuff and I stuck to that formula and went with it, and we went from there. And that right there, was what worked for me. That was what made podcasting fun for me, and podcasting's still fun for me. But with these processes and systems and everything we do, basically I get on there just like I'm doing right now. I just literally came in the room. Stacy's over in her office doing a job right now for her company, and I'm in here just recording on the Zoom H4. No, we got H6. My bad, H6. And then I'll take this, put it over in Podcastle, fix the audio, make a transcript through Descript or whatever I'm going to use, and then bam. And there's other sources you can use that are easier. And then ChatGPT. I use ChatGPT over top of anything else I use. So if I were to use someone else's branded software, be it Podflow, Capsho, Decipher, any of those things, I'm going to actually take their stuff and run it through ChatGPT one more time to get more than what they offer me in any of these programs. And the reason I do that is because trial and error is the greatest thing inside podcasting, in my opinion, because trial and error, I learned what services work for me on a paid scale and what works for me on a free scale. And when I say a free scale, I'm still paying for something at one point. So if I use Podcastle and I don't use Descript and I use Podcastle, I'm paying $15 a month for that. And I'm taking that $15 and I'm getting a transcript out of that bad boy at the same time. And I'm taking that transcript, and if I'm not paying for another service, I will go right into ChatGPT, drop it off in there. Now, if it's a long episode, I got to break it up into 2 parts because I'm not paying for ChatGPT 4.5 or whatever the hell it's called. So once I do that, I break it down. I ask it. I have set prompts already set into one little thing that I've built, or one prompt that I've built up on there. So it's like my workstation inside of ChatGPT. I put that episode in there. It makes show notes, summaries, everything that is the mechanical portion of what I would have to do that used to take so many hours inside podcasting, because I would have to do so much research on these people. But you do the episode with them, you get the interview out the way, then bam, you got it right there. Now, that's just my formula now, and it works. And I take nothing away from any service that you can buy or whatever, but doing it that way for me has led to a streamline of satisfaction for me inside podcasting. So basically, I'm just saying right there in the nicest way that I have found success with paying for something, and I have found success without paying for a service. And in doing that, certain episodes merit the need to me to be using a paid service to push it harder, in these weird algorithms and stuff like that. But here's 2 things that I've killed inside podcasting for myself. Social media has 2 references for me now, and we'll go through this real quick because I have time to do it, and I hope you all have time to go with me on this journey real quick. And thank you, avid listeners, for letting me do this episode here, because I really, really like this. So we'll start off with Facebook. Facebook is my relic, and I've always said it's my relic because Facebook is a place where my friends are, where people in these podcasting guest groups, podcast promotion groups, and different stuff like that. I throw content out there to them, and I engage in these communities ever so often, and that pulls in listeners. And that's something that I will take from every social media guru and every podcast guru and say, when you interact inside communities, communities will interact with you. And the way that you do it, if you follow some of these good people out here, like Anthony and them over there, and Tig O'Shea over there, if you follow what they're doing over there, which they have a great podcast also too, telling you how to get your podcast running right. If you need help with that, I'll put something in the show notes so that you'll know how to get to them. But, so Facebook, that Relic, I put up some media here. I want people to, that are already paying attention to know, like, hey, this is what's going on. It's just a quick reminder to them. Instagram has two different portions for me now. We have Reel support, which are the Reels. And I'm talking Reels, because I know I'm country, so sometimes when I say Reels, it might sound like I'm saying keeping it Reels. And I'm not saying keeping it Reels. I'm saying Reels, like Reels, like your movie reel. And the Reels bring me in a quick audience. They bring in an audience that I have to figure out who they are. I have to do more work with the Reels than I do anything else on social media. So sometimes I will throw stuff out there, and it's just things that I'll put out there for them so that it makes sense for new people to come in, that they can find exactly what they're looking for right then and there. Because that's a key goal inside podcasting. You don't want to have a guessing game for every single thing that you're doing for your new listeners. Now, my old listeners, yeah, I want a little guesswork for them because they like a little mystery. Everybody likes a little fantasy inside of their podcast. So that part about the Instagram Reels were good. Instagram Story is my billboard. I will post things to pull people relate them to me so that you get more personal stuff. So a lot of times I will put animation art up, for instance. Like I like cartoons like the Cowboys of Moon Mesa, Captain Planet, Little Nemo, things that are nostalgic but are a little obscure, things that make people, draw to me. I am a wrestling fanatic. Stacy and I, we go to events. Heck, we're going to watch a pay-per-view tonight on the Peacock Network, WWE Payback in Pittsburgh. While I'm plugging it for no reason, I don't know. So the thing here with that is that Instagram Stories is a place that that's a constant post for me. My Instagram post, like the actual storefront, the thing that you see, I used to post stuff on there very rapidly all the time. I cut that back. You get an audiogram on there that gives you a sense of what the episode's going to be, and that way the people from Instagram can listen and see how what they want to do with it. And then the next thing that I use that has been a huge success is the audiograms that are generated automatically from Headliner. I love Headliner, and I will tell anybody, if you got Headliner is the best thing to use. And Headliner makes an audiogram, so that's another social media tactic that I got there. So the audiogram, I'm throwing that thing everywhere. I'm on X, which is Tumblr, which is Twitter. I'm on Tumblr. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm everywhere and anywhere I'm supposed to be with that audiogram. And some people say that audiogram is a dead way of moving your show, but to each his own. Because one thing that I've learned in advertising and marketing, what works for me, what works for you, may not work for other people, because there's no one size fits all inside of marketing and advertising, and that is the hardest thing for people to grip. When you don't grip that, you just get out here and get insane and think, oh man, I should be having the same success as this guy. No, you shouldn't, or girl, or whoever. Identify however you identify. But it's one of these deals where you have to have a certain type of muscle and a certain type of almost like being exercising and getting your body to a certain strength. You have to figure the certain times and frames to do all that. And I could blow your mind away with statistics across all kinds of lines of when I did something one time, it worked here and there, but there's so many facets into what people do when they turn their phone on and they flip on Instagram or any social media. Okay, now moving on to Tumblr, because Tumblr is the one that we don't talk much about. Tumblr, I use it to build up hashtags and to gain new hashtags because it has a hashtag link in the very bottom. So I will use those. And I know people will search for SEO stuff that leads to more hashtags, but I just build my stuff right there in Tumblr. Put my posts over in there. My posts do whatever they do on Tumblr. Those listeners that come from Tumblr, that's the only group of listeners that I don't have established and can't really quantify or like have a science to it. So Tumblr has always been a place that I just play around with, and it builds up stuff for me, and I get my creative stuff because people will comment and let me know, hey, this, and that. You can use another app that I use on the side is Verbal, and some other places where my listeners, and then Discord to a certain degree, but I use the Wire app so that not clients, so that listeners can directly talk to me without being on social media and all that stuff. Because one thing that I found out about listeners is you may like my show, but you may not like my social media presence. So you're not going to come over to my social media and follow it and like this and that. You just want to deal with me for merely the podcast and nothing else. So if that's the case, and you do want to contact me, that's why I leave the email open. And following the whole email and getting that stuff going, I have totally dropped the ball on that. I suck dealing with the emails. People will be like, man, fuck his email. I'll put that shit in my spam box. I even heard that from Stacy. So email wise, it's a hard draw, but it works out. So I'll put out something here and there for that. So we've covered Instagram, X, Facebook, and then let's move over to my darling Snapchat. You'll get an episode in a few weeks about Snapchat and how to maneuver with that and what we're doing with that group, which will be starting on October 20th. I'm in the infancy of that. I've already released a video that sits on YouTube that you can watch at your own accord and go from there with that. So with that being said, Snapchat is just where that's my main marketing tool by pushing it across with different podcasters, getting them to post my stuff in their cities. That's tried and true. I've gone over that too many times. All right. Instagram and Facebook automation. I use Meta Business Suite. I put the ads in there, get it done. Canva Pro is what I use to make my ads. Canva Pro is the only thing that I've said, and I will dedicate this to them, is the only thing that's solid, that always holds up when it comes to marketing and advertising, because you're the one that makes the design. You're the one that's the creative juice behind that. You have so much control over your stuff in Canva. You make or break your own ship. So that's just one that we just leave out there, and I just leave like that because Canva is where it's at. If you don't pay for it and you got a friend that'll let you use it, more power to you. I need to get me one like that. All right. So all that taken care of right there. That's the social media strategy. So then the next thing we're going to actually talk about the curation. Great example. In August, I did the Death of Cinema. I contacted a movie festival that's happening in West Virginia. I got them on board, and they have an advertisement with us for that. So that makes sense there. Then obviously everybody knows I'm a projector enthusiast or projector aficionado. So obviously telling about how projectors have taken over during the pandemic and have become a part of life. And then actually showing, like, for this past month that went by, I was able to show like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Megalodon, that movie about the vampire in the boat. All that stuff came out at the very beginning of August and it was out within 3 weeks or 2 weeks after being in movie theater. So I was able to show a presence there. And then on the other side of my affiliate marketing and everything else that I do with the advertisement, I was able to branch out, do the affiliate marketing. People reached out. That was the after podcast stuff that we'll talk about in just a second. And with that affiliate, people clicked on, they listened to the episodes. They either made their reason or thought about it. And then people went over to that Nebula website and they were like, hey, this projector, if I pay, they were on sale, if you pay $269 for that projector, how much life are you going to get it outside of that? Now, that's another episode for another day, and I'll talk about that. But what I'll say is this, it's real concrete. It works out for you buying one of those if that's what you want to do. So that's my upsell there. That's the one thing that I am out there doing. I am a projector. I'm authentic in projector, so I definitely shoot that out there all day long. No issue. All right, so that was curated. It worked out the way that it needed to. I put in a few updates. I did some extra stuff on my second podcast, which is West Virginia Uncommonplace Presents a Collection. And with that was a crazy deal, because when I did that, I didn't know that it was going to lead to people jumping to that podcast and coming back. And now what I've gotten from the audience is with Stacy's podcast, Sparrows Under Review, it's a set thing that we do there. And then with this collection where I'm adding in new episodes, they're like, you have podcasts within podcasts within podcasts. And we like that because it's a variety. So I kind of got that in a whole nutshell there. And then after that, I just watched the things. I let the shows happen. You can't worry about results until they're at the end. So at the end of the month, yesterday, I looked at everything that cumulatively came across from Death of Cinema, and I can say that I was satisfied with what went down and how it happened. Now, this month, I brought back the interviews. I'm going to see how they do. If people are not coming to me for the interviews, which that was something originally I did, then I'm going to keep going with the formula that I've been doing, these solo shows and bringing Stacy in here and there on this, because you hear us on Sparrow's Review every week. And, we got something big going on over there. We've got Twilight going on instead of Twilight August, which we should have jumped on that because someone did Twilight August. Shout out to that podcast that did Twilight August, because I listened to your one of your shows. I didn't get to catch the rest of them yet, but shout out for tying it in. But we're going to tie it in, Twilight September, it's fall time. So let's get ready for that. Now, outside of that, that's all I'm doing, inside podcasting right now. I didn't get to go to podcast movement because of some health elements, obviously, that you know about. We're getting ready for Podfest. Stacy and I are eager to go there and see World. We're waiting on you, and we're definitely waiting on you too, Universal Studios. She wants to go see Harry Potter, and I'm trying to go to that Super Mario World. But on that note, let's end this show here like this. I want you to go out in the world, do whatever you do. It's fall time. Get the headphones right. Heck, if you got to get some new headphones, I heard they're coming out with some new AirPods or whatever, so jump on those. I need you to think about this with me. When you're listening to West Virginia Uncommon Place, you came here because you were seeking the uncommon. So go out in the world and express the uncommon stuff to people that don't know it. And on that note, I am JR from West Virginia Uncommon Place, from Sparrows Under Review, from West Virginia Uncommon Place Presents a Collection. And I will be here with you guys and gals and whomever else for this ride through the fall. So let's get out here and enjoy it.
Please follow WV Uncommon Place on Instagram, Tumblr, Twitter, TikTok, where we have some great content, Facebook, LinkedIn. Hit up the merch store at oncommonplace.square.site. Join the email list from the website, and rate, subscribe, and give feedback from your favorite podcatcher. And lastly, thanks for listening, and tune into the next episode.
Hey, consider this your invitation to the inaugural Mountain Craft Film Festival. Films, movies, motion pictures, whatever you call them, they're coming to Clarksburg, West Virginia this coming September 29th and 30th. 4 feature-length films by local filmmakers, as well as countless short films from Appalachia for Appalachia. Not to mention food trucks, artisanal vendors, networking opportunities, an immersive virtual reality experience, and much, much more. All under the roof of the beautiful historic Robinson Grand Performing Arts Center. Purchase passes now at mtncraft.com/film festival. Sign up for our newsletter to stay up to date with festival news. And don't miss out on a single story these voices have to tell. Sorry.